Welcome back, you guys, and today we seriously need to talk about Euphoria, because the behind-the-scenes drama for Season 3 is honestly getting more unhinged than the actual show itself. So, in case you missed it, Sydney Sweeney was just spotted filming in a literal wedding dress, and now everyone's spiraling with theories. Is Cassie getting married? Is it real? Is it AI? And that's just one part of the chaos. The new season is finally in production after years of silence, and the updates we've been getting are intense. We're talking about a 5-year time jump, major cast exits, new A-list additions like Rosalia and Sharon Stone, and Sydney literally saying that Cassie is even worse this time around. Her words, not ours. But it's not just the storyline that's wild. There's been so much happening off-screen too, from Zendaya allegedly clashing with the creator Sam Levinson to heartbreaking real-life updates like Eric Dane's health battle, and fans starting to question if this show is still worth the hype. So in this video, we're gonna break down everything. The wedding scene rumors, the time jump, the insane character arcs, the new cast lineup, and yeah, all the drama that's been bubbling behind closed doors. Because let's be real, Euphoria isn't just a show anymore, it's practically its own pop culture mess. Let's get into it. So here's where things really start to get wild. The last time we actually saw a new episode of Euphoria was back in February 2022. Yeah, it's been over 3 years since Rue ran into the night, Lexi's play broke everyone's minds, and Fezco's storyline just stopped mid-tragedy. And ever since then, it's been nothing but radio silence, false promises, and coming soon updates that never actually came. At one point, fans were told that Season 3 would drop in 2025, and now? The latest is that we're getting it in 2026. And let's be honest, at this point, people are wondering if it's even worth it. The momentum that made Euphoria a full-on cultural reset, like Halloween costumes, makeup trends, TikTok audios, all of it, has seriously cooled down. What used to be appointment TV now feels like an overdue group text no one wants to reply to. And to make it worse, fans haven't just been waiting. They've been watching other shows move past Euphoria completely. We're talking new teen dramas taking over, cast members launching new projects, and even The Idol, yes, that chaotic mess, coming and going in the meantime. Behind the scenes, insiders say the delay wasn't just about the strikes, although that definitely slowed things down. There were also scheduling issues with the cast, creative rewrites, and straight-up confusion about the direction of the show. Zendaya got so frustrated, she allegedly pitched her own version of Rue's story, but we'll get into that in a bit. The big takeaway here, it's not just a case of good things take time, it's more like this show almost didn't happen. But somehow, they got the cameras rolling again. And as if that wasn't enough of a saga, wait until you hear what the cast had to deal with just to stay on the show. Let's talk about that next. Now, here's the part that really hits hard, because while fans were waiting for updates, the cast was stuck in limbo too. And the toll it took on them, way more serious than anyone realized. Let's start with Sydney Sweeney, who's been super open about how frustrating the delays were. Early on, she turned down other acting opportunities, thinking Euphoria would start filming any day now. But those days turned into months, and those months stretched into years. Imagine having to pass up roles that could launch your career, just to sit around waiting on a set that's not even being built yet. And then you've got Eric Dane, who plays Cal, Nate's dad, and one of the show's most complicated characters. During the downtime between Season 2 and 3, Eric revealed something incredibly personal. He's been diagnosed with ALS, a progressive condition that's already taken movement from one arm and is now affecting the other. Most people wouldn't blame him for stepping back. But instead, he chose to return to set just 4 days after announcing the news. He called it a lifeline, saying being on set lifted his spirits. Fans were floored. It was this emotional, inspiring moment, but also heartbreaking, because it made everyone wonder, why did it take this long for production to get moving in the first place? And it's not just those two. A bunch of the cast had to juggle other shows, movie deals, fashion campaigns, all while being locked into exclusive contracts with HBO. Basically, they weren't even allowed to take on certain roles in case it clashed with Euphoria's schedule, which didn't even exist for a while. So yeah, while we were all refreshing Twitter looking for updates, the cast was out here fighting battles we didn't even see. And for some of them, like Barbie Ferreira, that battle led to a full-on exit. Let's get into who's not coming back next. Alright, let's talk about the moment that broke the internet. Cassie in a wedding dress. Yep, if you've seen the leaked photos, you already know what I'm talking about. Sydney Sweeney was spotted filming a scene wearing a full-on white wedding gown, and fans immediately lost it. Is she marrying Nate? Is it a dream sequence? Is it even real? Or is HBO just trolling us with set leaks? When Sydney was asked about it, she straight up laughed and said, "That could be AI." But she didn't deny it either, which only made things messier. But here's the thing, the dress is just the beginning. Sydney's been teasing this version of Cassie for months now, calling her even worse than before. Like, let that sink in. This is the same Cassie who had a full emotional breakdown in a high school bathroom, started secretly dating her best friend's toxic ex, and turned into a walking meltdown by the end of season 2. And now, she's back. She's older, and she's apparently even more unhinged. Sydney also described Cassie as psychotic and vicious in recent interviews, which honestly lines up with the energy we've seen from those leaked clips. According to crew members, the scenes she's filming this season are darker, messier, and way more chaotic. One even described it as Cassie being in her final form. Like, this is the peak version of her spiraling, and fans are living for it. Even people who were tired of waiting for season 3 are suddenly like, okay, wait, what is going on with Cassie? But if Cassie's storyline is this intense, it makes you wonder, what's happening with the rest of the cast? Because this time around, they're not just dealing with high school drama anymore. They're dealing with a full-on time jump, and that changes everything. Let's talk about that next. So let's get into one of the biggest twists in this entire new season, the 5-year time jump. Yep, Euphoria isn't just picking up where it left off. The show is literally fast-forwarding half a decade, and that changes the entire game. According to multiple cast interviews, this next chapter doesn't take place in high school at all. The characters are older now. Some are in completely different life situations. And that whole teen drama vibe, it's being swapped out for something way more raw, way more grown, and probably way more chaotic. Coleman Domingo, who plays Ali, already spilled some tea. He said we're finally going to peel back more of his backstory, how he became who he is, what led him to Rue, and what kind of weight he's been carrying. And honestly, that's the kind of depth this show needs. Like, Euphoria was always about trauma and identity, but now they're leaning into it with these characters at a different stage in life. And let's be real, that also means there's way more room for messed up storylines. I mean, Cassie in a wedding dress suddenly makes a lot more sense if she's in her mid-20s and spiraling again. Same with Rue. She's not a teenager anymore. Her addiction story can go deeper, darker, or maybe even redemptive if they go that route. But this time jump also raises a lot of questions. Like, where did all these characters end up? What happened to Rue and Jewel? Are Nate and Maddie still part of each other's mess? Is Lexi still in the picture? And who's even talking to who anymore? Because remember, some characters won't be coming back at all. And that's not just because of the time jump, it's because the cast lineup has changed in a major way. Let's get into who's missing and who's brand new next. Now, this is where fans really started side-eyeing the new season, because not everyone's coming back. And honestly, the cast changes have been just as dramatic as the storylines. Let's start with Barbie Ferreira, who played Kat. She officially exited the show after season 2, and at first, the explanation was vague. But then Barbie came forward and revealed that the show's creator, Sam Levinson, just didn't really connect with Kat as a character. Basically, he had no storyline for her, so she got pushed to the background and eventually decided to walk away. And honestly, fans don't blame her. Kat had one of the most promising arcs in season 1, and to see her sidelined was already frustrating. Then there's the tragic loss of Angus Cloud, who played Fezco. His passing devastated the entire fanbase. Fez wasn't just a fan favorite, he was the emotional anchor of the show. He brought this quiet, protective energy that balanced out all the chaos. And now, with Ashtray also gone and no clear resolution to Fez's arc, people are genuinely wondering how the show will even move forward without him. Storm Reed and Nika King, who played Rue's sister and mom, also aren't returning this season, which raises even more questions. Like, how do you tell Rue's story without the people who shaped her the most? Is the time jump their excuse to just not mention it? Or are we about to get some heavy flashbacks? And on top of that, a bunch of new names are joining the cast. And they're not just randoms. We're talking Rosalia, Sharon Stone, Asante Black, Adewale Akinnuoye Agbaje, Marshawn Lynch, and more. The internet has no idea what roles they're playing, but it's giving very Euphoria goes cinematic. So yeah, between the exits and the new additions, it's clear the vibe of the show is shifting. But one thing that hasn't changed? The controversy around the man running it all, Sam Levinson. And that's what we need to unpack next. Alright, so let's talk about the guy at the center of all this, Sam Levinson. Because while Euphoria's visuals and storytelling have always sparked debate, the way Sam runs his sets? Yeah, that's a whole conversation on its own. It really hit the fan after The Idol. That show, which was supposed to be his next big thing, dropped to massive backlash. Critics and fans called it chaotic, over the top, and honestly just kind of disturbing. And the more people dug into what went wrong, the more fingers pointed back at Sam. The original director, Amy Seimetz, had already filmed about 80% of the show before Sam reportedly stepped in, scrapped her vision, and completely changed the tone. And not in a subtle way. Her version was said to be character-driven, exploring fame and exploitation. But under Sam, it became something way more graphic, and not in a good way. This whole situation made fans look back at Euphoria with new eyes. They started questioning things. Like, why are there so many unnecessary scenes involving Cassie? Why are the female characters constantly being stripped down while the male characters stay fully dressed? And that's when even more stories started surfacing. Photographer and filmmaker Petra Collins claimed that Sam had initially brought her in to help shape Euphoria's visual identity. She worked with him for months, helped build the aesthetic, and then, out of nowhere, got dropped from the project. A year later, she said she saw Euphoria's promo billboards and realized they were using her exact style. Same lighting, same framing, same dreamy aesthetic, with zero credit. So yeah, it's not just fans who've been raising eyebrows. Industry insiders, former collaborators, and even some of the cast have hinted at creative tension. And that brings us to Zendaya, who reportedly had her own ideas for Season 3. But we'll get into that drama next. Because what Zendaya wanted for Rue, it was completely different from what Sam had planned. So now let's get into Zendaya, because while she's always been the face of Euphoria, she's also become one of its most vocal insiders. And apparently, she didn't just want to act in Season 3, she wanted to reshape it completely. According to multiple reports, Zendaya pitched her own storyline for Rue. After everything Rue went through in Seasons 1 and 2, from relapsing to nearly losing her best friend to being hunted down over drug money, Zendaya wanted to take her in a new direction. She allegedly proposed a slower, redemptive arc. Rue gets sober, gets her life together, and even becomes a surrogate mother figure to someone else. It was emotional, it was healing, and it would have shown real growth. But Sam? He had a totally different idea. He reportedly wanted Rue to become a private detective. Yeah, you heard that right. A character who spent 2 seasons struggling with addiction was suddenly supposed to be solving mysteries and chasing down suspects like she was in some gritty noir thriller. Even HBO stepped in on that one and said, yeah, no. That whole storyline was shut down before it ever made it to the page. And from what insiders are saying, that whole creative clash led to some serious tension between Zendaya and Sam. It wasn't dramatic or public, but the energy definitely shifted. There were even rumors, totally unconfirmed, that Zendaya might take a step back from the show entirely. But so far, she's stayed in it and remains the central figure of Season 3. Still, it begs the question, what kind of show are we getting here? One that tells real stories with care and nuance, or one that chases chaos for the sake of shock value? Because when you look at everything that's happened, the delays, the exits, the behind-the-scenes drama, it almost feels like the making of Euphoria is its own separate show. But now that cameras are finally rolling, what do we actually know about this season? Who's getting more screen time? What are the biggest theories? Let's wrap this up with all the juiciest final details. Alright, so now that the dust has kind of settled and the cameras are actually rolling, what do we really know about Season 3? For starters, it's officially confirmed that we're getting 8 episodes. That's it. Which, let's be honest, feels a little short considering the 3-year wait and all the build-up. But maybe that means the writing will be tighter, or maybe they're planning to go full cinematic with every episode and keep it more contained. Either way, fans have opinions. Now, let's talk about the rumored storylines. And these are wild. According to leaks and whispers from the set, Cassie might be pregnant or already has a kid in this new timeline. Some people even think the wedding scene might be her own delusion, like a full fantasy breakdown moment, which would track, honestly. Then there's talk that Rue and Maddie will be leading the season, with Rue carrying the emotional arc and Maddie finally stepping into the spotlight. And yes, Alexa Demi is confirmed to have way more screen time this season, which fans have been begging for since season 1. We've also seen glimpses of new scenes being filmed. Cassie and Nate in what looks like a wedding venue, Rue yelling at a new character in a diner, and Lexi with a totally revamped look. So it's clear that even though some characters are gone, the ones still here are being pushed to new extremes. And then there's Rosalia joining the cast, which came out of nowhere but has already sparked a million theories. Is she a new friend, a love interest, a rival? No one knows. But the fact that HBO dropped her name right as production restarted, definitely a power move. So yeah, Euphoria Season 3 is shaping up to be a full reset. New tone, new timelines, new characters, and way more chaos. The only question now is, can it live up to the hype? That's all for now. See you guys in the next one.